Welcome back to Shade Tech Radio, and thank you for listening. This is episode 4. I'm your host, Dead Sock Puppet, and with me is my co-host, Ginter.
How's it going, everybody? Ginter here.
So let's get right into it. Intelligence Annex. This week's State of the Game had James and Mark from Reflections, since Yannick was out of town. They talked about a temporary server-side fix for out-of-bounds issue in Midtown Music. There's a permanent client-side fix that should be coming soon. They also adjusted the cooldown time for Recovery Link to match other signature skills. I guess it just wasn't working the same as the other two. The rapid bug is only a UI bug, and it has been fixed. I don't think I ever experienced that, so I'm not sure what exactly the issue was, but if you look on, probably Google it, you can find it pretty easily. So this week's show was basically... They talked about how 1.7 is going to be a refresh for the game, whereas 1.8 is going to be an actual content drop. The week was basically spent talking about commendations, which are going to be coming with 1.7. They basically said that they're an expansion, I should say, of achievements and long-term goals for players, as well as rewards for loyalty, so that some of these will actually be retroactive. Plan is that players will get to play content they may have not played in the past, so that they can try to get those commendations. They also we have a post that has more in-depth information on this on the Division forums. If you just go to the news thread, there's a post for it. You can kind of read through, see exactly what all they've released on that. Next, Massive is looking to make changes to try to address the lag issue that some players are experiencing. What they're trying to do is balance wait times and queues so that they can balance play versus ping. They're looking for input from players and see what they can do to fix this, and also to see what players find most important, whether they want to be able to play more frequently and have shorter queue lines, or whether they want to have lower ping. Next thing is that Massive is hiring. If you go to their website, they have a bunch of job listings, and you can kind of see what's out there and what's available. Massive is also running a survey on loadouts and inventory. They're trying to get some feedback now that they've actually put that out, and there's been a couple weeks where players have been able to use them. There is a link to it on the game's official Twitter, @TheDivisionGame, as well as on thedivisionforums.com. And if I remember right, we posted it up on the Shade Tech, @ShadeTech Radio Twitter account. So please respond to that. Massive does look through those. It's got a pretty decent number of questions, but it takes maybe like 5-10 minutes. So final note is that last week we talked about a gear attribute chart for 1.6.1 that was posted by Sitret Rob, and we actually found out the creator of it. The creator's name is DiceLZ. So give him a shout out on Twitter @DiceLZ. Just give him a thank you. Let him know, hey, we appreciate you making that, and hopefully he'll kind of take that, maybe make some more content that we can have. So, did you have any news, thoughts, anything for this week's Intel Annex, Ginter?
I don't. I just want to say the game is... I just started a new character, and it's been a while since I've done it, so I was like...
Right.
I just forgot, like, that the game is still so enjoyable, even playing through it again. Like, it's even... For some reason, for me, it's even more fun starting with a new guy, like, crappy gear, and, like, having to pick up gear, like, oh, is this a little better than what I have? It's a little better. So, yeah. But one thing that does upset me is that I can't... The character selection is... The character creation is just... It's just so bad.
Yeah.
It's gotta be, like... Just one of the worst character creations I've ever seen. I know it has nothing to do with the news, but it's just something I wanted to bring up. Because maybe someone's watching or something who could do something about that. But, like,
right.
Man,
well,
like... I mean, what if I was a blonde woman, and I wanted to create a character to reflect me? Like, you literally cannot make a blonde woman in that game. And that is upsetting.
You'd have to find a different game.
Yeah, but, like, what if I don't want to, Like, I mean...
Then dye your hair to match your character?
It's just absurd to me, and the faces, like, I feel like they were just trying to be like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just whoever did that, like with all the beautiful textures in this game, like gorgeous scenery, and like the reflections on the ice on the ground. It's like, wow, so gorgeous. But then, like, you go to create a character and you're just like, what the hell? Like, did my character get beaten with like a bat before the directive was ordered? Like, what the?
Yeah, they're definitely lacking in that.
There's
And that's something.
NPCs who are better looking. Like, you know, like,
Yeah,
I like to immerse myself into a game. Okay, so, I'm playing Skyrim or something. Skyrim has the most intense character creation you can possibly imagine. And I really take the time to sit there and create a character that, makes me feel like I'm in that game, like that's me.
right.
And you just don't get that with Division. That was upsetting for me because it's a game I was really excited about, and for me, like, if you're not even gonna bother with giving us a good character creation, just give us, one male or a female to play with. Like, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's all. Great. Otherwise, great game, great story, great game, great mechanics. But just the immersion is just not there for me.
Right. No, I understand that. There's been a lot of people that have had issues with that. I completely agree that there should be some better customization, and it's out there in other games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some pretty decent customization in Wildlands.
I
So
was just
even
gonna say
within Ubi, yeah,
Wildlands. Yeah, Wildlands
e-
has some pretty good customization.
even within Ubi's own product suite, they can do a little bit better. So it would definitely be something in the next game if that's not there. That it'd be
Has
like,
anyone
why?
has anyone gotten an answer about that yet? Did anyone ask them like what the deal was and got a legit answer?
As far as I know, no. I haven't really looked into it to see, um, why the customization is just so simple or basic. So, but kind of going into that. For this week's incursion, we're gonna start what's going to be a three part setup on builds. The second most popular topic on our most recent poll was to discuss builds. So what we thought is that we would do kind of a three-part setup. First part being the 1 to 30 grind, like how to set up your character, what to run with, and then like once you hit level 30, kind of some basic intro tips on how to start collecting gear for your level 30 character. Then for the next show, we figured we'd go into the go into looking at gear, specifically talking about stats, attributes, what kind of things you want on them, and then weapons, and the same kind of setup, stats, talents, and so you have an idea of what to look for in weapons, what to look for in gear. And then in the final one, we'd look to do level 30 builds, so specifically how to like what we would possibly suggest, or what we like for assault builds, for support builds, healer builds, tank builds. So that way, the idea is that by going through these three different shows here, you can see as you start from level 1 and then all the way to end game, you can get an idea of how your character can progress, what kind of different things to look at, what to focus on at the different stages in your game. So it kind of ties in with the conversation about starting a new character, customizing your looks and whatnot. And for those of you that are watching the video of the podcast here, we are running some footage. I did run a day or two ago. I have a level 6 character, level 6, level 7, that we're running some footage. You can kind of see what kind of gear I'm running every once in a while. You kind of see how frequently I go in to change gear. If I remember right from this set, I played for about an hour, and I don't think I changed any of my gear. And that just has to do with my strategy. So kind of as I was mentioning, this episode we're going to talk about the 1 to 30 gear and weapons, and then going from level 30, what kind of loadout builds to start with. So my personal thoughts with the 1 to 30 is that I generally don't change gear that often. I get something play, and it's basically because you're not looking for final content. You're looking for something to basically get you through the 1 to 30 grind. Whether you're playing the game, at a casual pace, you're exploring the all the maps and looking at all the stuff, going through all the echoes, looking at all of the collectible stuff, or whether you're speed running through it. And actually, if you're speed running through it and power leveling it, what gear you have pretty much matters even less, because more likely than not, someone's carrying you. So basically, my big tip with that is just don't spend a lot of time working on your gear. I personally look for gear if I can find it. I try to find stuff that has XP boost on it. Having that allows you to collect more XP faster, so you can level faster. You can get to level 30 faster. It's not required, but aside from that, I really don't look for anything else on my gear, aside from making sure that the gear that I have will unlock the weapon talents on weapons that I have. Once you start getting the green level gear, you get at least one talent on the weapons, and so I want to make sure I can use the talent so I get the full benefit of whatever weapon I'm running. What's your kind of base thought process, Ginter, on your 1 to 30 gear sets?
So it's actually good that the timing is good, because I just created a new character. So for me, like when I'm leveling and a new character, I'm primarily focusing on just if I pick up everything, and I always check to see if it's better than what I have, and I always make sure to upgrade as soon as I can. And what I do is I look to see what my weapon talents require, because
yep.
At that time, like, I'm not really focusing on anything particular, because I'm still leveling to get to 30, and nothing I have or use is going to be important, so I'm just looking to see what my weapon talents are requiring. And if I find something that has higher electronics, and my thing needs firearms, then I'll keep my firearms. Even though it might be a couple more armor, it might be a couple more. It might have something that's a little bit better, 1% more XP or something, per kill. I still just maintain those weapon talents. That's my big thing for leveling, and that's what I'd suggest anyone who's new do as well, because those are going to be big, very helpful. 10% more damage when no skill has been active, or when a skill has been active. That 10% damage is big. So I would focus that. That's my focus. I try to just get my weapon talents going, even if it's at the loss of some armor or some health or something.
Yep. No, yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's always one of my focuses. I want to make sure that my weapon talents, either the weapon talent is active if I can get the gear to do it, or if I can't, I recalibrate the gear or make changes or I switch weapons so that I'm actually using a talent. I mean, it doesn't make...
I don't know if I would recommend recalibrating on your way to 30.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
I like to save my money for when I'm, calibrating late end game items, but I guess that's just preference. I mean, whatever you want to do. If you have the money for it, but I'd recommend saving that money, because you're not going to be using that gear much longer.
Yeah, and if I was kind of mentioning that if you do decide, because some people do like that. You're right. It's two different camps. Some groups are like, oh, I'm going to recalibrate. I really like everything else on this. I'm going to use this for a couple levels, so I might as well get a talent that I like on it. Mm-hmm. And then there's the other option, like you said, where you don't recalibrate anything. You just go through, don't buy anything, just use whatever stuff you pick up. I kind of bounce back and forth between those two. Sometimes I'll do, sometimes I don't. I have some weapons that I really like to use at low level, and so if I get a talent that I don't like, I might recalibrate it just because I want something that I can use on it. I think everybody has weapons that they do better with, and I tend to like. For me personally, on the 1 to 30 grind, I love the P416. It's one of my favorite assault rifles. When I get to high level, I will never touch one of those things. It gets broken down. It's
Yeah.
it seems that in the 1 to 30, and this is just my opinion, that it's a fairly stable, hits fairly decent. It's a decent weapon to use. When you get to the high level, there's better weapons that you can use on that. So when you're picking weapons for 1 to 30, what's your thought process? What kind of weapons do you run? Do you always pick the same kind of setup? Do you mix it up?
I really like to just use a pistol. Like, there's something about just like owning with a pistol really gets my juices flowing. You know what I
No,
mean?
that makes sense.
My juices.
I do that. Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I do that every
Shield
once in a
and
while.
pistol, dude. Not even the shield sometimes, just when I need it. When shit goes bad, like
Right.
when I'm out of medipacks or whatever. But
Right.
like I'll use a sniper rifle too for like distance. But then when people get in my face, I like to pull out the pistol. But however, I gotta say, I gotta give it to the G36, man. That thing is just the accuracy, the rate of fire. It's just all around solid gun, And really, it just kind of, like I love the AK, but dude, that thing's such a inaccurate, And I remember when the black market AK was like the big item, Remember that? Like
Yep.
when the black market AK, you build it and it was like the shit.
Yep. Yeah, I ran a BMAC on my Alpha Bridge build.
Yeah, exactly. Alpha Bridge. Well, it was even before Alpha Bridge existed. I'm
Yeah.
talking like when Sentries first came out, or Strikers. I mean, Strikers. And Sentry is one of those two. But no, the G36 is just such a good gun. Like it's just it's sick. Yeah, so that's what if I find one of those, I generally will roll that. But I'll honestly use whatever is just doing more damage for me. On the way to 130, that's what I focus. It's just whatever is going to give me the most damage output. But I do just like using a pistol generally, just because it's fun. I don't know, something about it. And you got unlimited ammo with it. You don't have to worry about running out. But I mean, obviously, once you get later game, the pistols, it's only good when they're at low HP, because of that huge damage increase when they're at low HP on it. Otherwise, like I said, just this any kind of sniper rifle is good to have as a secondary for range. Popping headshots and stuff, keep your distance because you're taking a lot of damage usually from 1 to 30. But I love the G36 for an assault rifle. And honestly, I haven't found any good SMGs I like. What I really like is the one that's kind of like an UMP45, kind of like an MP5. It's like ST, I think.
The MP5 ST.
Yeah, I've never been able to find a good one, and I've seen them like online, like people find good ones, and I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous, man. I wish I could find a good one. I've always wanted to find a good one. I never have.
If I'm running an MP5, it's usually an ST or a Navy. Those are the two options that I like. Those are the ones that the stock one's okay, and the
burst fire,
the
shit,
UMP, the burst fire. I never use that thing.
Any burst fire is garbage. Don't see the value.
Yeah, there really isn't. If you get your mod set and you're halfway decent, a burst fire weapon isn't really needed. So, personally, for my 1 to 30, I usually try to keep something. I guess it's kind of the same idea that you do. I usually try to keep something that's a ranged weapon. So it'll be either a DMR or marksman rifle, or an assault rifle of some type. So something that I can engage from a range, and then I'll usually have something that's close range. So most likely it's going to be an SMG, or in the rare cases, if I feel lucky, I'll take a shotgun, or if I want to mix it up a bit, I'll take a shotgun. But typically I'm running an AR and an SMG, or a DMR and an SMG. Those tend to be my go-tos. I like to be able to close on someone with a ranged weapon, and then flip over and start hitting them with a short range weapon. Or if somebody runs up on you or a rusher, it's real easy to to drop that sniper and pull up the SMG and start going at them. So I guess what I would suggest to players is play, especially if you're new to the game, try out all the different types of weapons, the ARs, the SMGs, the DMRs, the LMGs. Try everything out. See what kind of things you like. What works for me, what works for Ginter may not work for you. So there's metas out there. There's, you should play this, you should play these, you should do that. That's fine if you're trying to min-max a character, if you're trying to be like a star player or something like that. But if you're playing to have fun, play something that you're going to like. Play something that's going to match your play style. Don't try to fit your play style into, I got to use this sniper rifle because it's the best weapon out there, or I have to use this SMG because it's the best weapon. If it doesn't work for you, then the game becomes more of a chore. It's not fun.
Yeah, that's what definitely do what's fun. That's do whatever's fun for you. Don't let people tell you what to do and stuff. Like, we'll give you advice, but it's definitely not a requirement to have fun with the game. Just have fun with the game.
Yeah. I mean, the couple suggestions on the gear, like we mentioned, the XP options if you can get those on them, but specifically having the skill points to get your talents up. You really should take those. I mean, that's some pretty solid advice to make sure that you're actually being able to use whatever weapons you're using. But again, if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Yeah. All this talk about ARs. If you don't mind, I'd like to show off my beautiful AR here. Yeah. This thing is a sexy bitch right here. Love this thing. I need to get a new sight for it though. I got no sights on it right now.
No, just you even have a iron sight on there?
No, not even an iron sight on that. I know, dude. I took it off because like my red dot sight broke, so I dropped it and it cracked.
Well, that tends to happen when you drop a nice piece of equipment like that.
Yeah,
they break.
I mean, no, it wasn't like a drop. It was like I leaned on something and it slid down.
Nice.
It was I was pretty butthurt about it, but I mean, it wasn't a super expensive sight because like sights are the most expensive parts of guns. It's ridiculous, but like a good ACOG is like $3,000.
Nice.
Ridiculous, dude. I'll never own a nice ACOG because like I only spent $700 building the gun. I'm not gonna buy a freaking $3,000 ACOG, man. That's just insane.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Anyway, let's continue.
So now that you've had a chance to get some insight on how to play the 1 to 30 run, we're going to kind of move into once you hit 30, what do you do? Now you have all of this high-end stuff, and you can start getting gear sets. Now you have to start looking into gear score. What do you do? What's your first thoughts? How do you look for gear? What kind of stuff do you look for? So go ahead, Ginter.
Oh no, I was just.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
So kind of like with our thoughts on 1 to 30. Take a look around. Check our website, thedivisionforum.com. Google different weapons, different gear sets, just to kind of get an idea of what's out there. Specifically with the gear sets, you can kind of see what the different bonuses and what they do. And then just kind of look at something that you think, hey, this sounds interesting. I like to have extra ammo. So maybe you look at Lone Star stuff. Or I like to do some healing, so you start looking at Reclaimer. Just kind of look through those. It tells you exactly how those work, and they all work in the same basic function. There is a 2-piece bonus where if you have at least any 2 pieces of that gear set equipped, you get that bonus. There's a 3-piece where if you add a 3rd piece on, you get the 3rd bonus, and then there's a 4-piece where if you have at least 4 pieces equipped, you get that 4-piece bonus. And you do get all of those. So when you equip a 3rd piece, you get the 2-piece and 3-piece, and when you equip a 4th, you get the 2, 3, and 4-piece. So just kind of look and see what you might be interested in, what works to your play style. Some of it's going to be what gear you actually pick up from drops. So it might be, hey, I want to get to this place or this point, or this is what I would like to be running. But probably from the start, you're going to be running what I affectionately call a Frankenstein build, which is whatever works best or whatever pieces I have kind of throw on until you can start collecting pieces that, oh, I got a couple pieces from this set or I got a couple pieces from that set. In addition to sets, there's what they call high-end and then exotic pieces. Exotics we'll probably talk about in a later section just because they're really not going to apply to this initial level 30 build. But high ends are kind of standalone pieces. They don't have set bonuses, but they are great for filling in when you don't have all the pieces of a set, or you want to fill spots. If you say you have a 4-piece set and you want to put 2 high ends in.
I would like to say one thing about that, though, is that don't just think that set items are just the end game for you, because there are some good high-end talents out there,
Mm-hmm.
When set items first came out, I was like, oh shit, dude, it's all about set items. I'm just gonna use set items now. And then I saw other people just using some set items and then using high-end items, and I'm like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's so good, because there are some dope ass high-end item talents that you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lose that high-end talent, and then like, just don't think that you have to use set item talents. I mean, they're great and everything, and they're a lot of them are pretty cool, but there are some pretty solid high end talents out there that you might just think that are, because you can have up to 6 high end item talents.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 6 high end items you're using, and those talents can be pretty useful, as opposed to having. You have to have 4 set items to get the 4 set bonus, and sometimes that's not even that great. Like they've nerfed some of those items to the ground, and like they were pretty dope at first. Like I really like the when the Firecrest first came out, I liked the bonus it had then with like the I think it was the weapon reload. Dude, I was using a para, like the 100 round magazine gun. And dude, the reload time was ridiculous on it. It reloads so fast with that bonus. They nerfed that bonus, so they removed it, I think, which sucks because it was badass. And then the 4 bonus was like, God, what was it? It was like if you shot someone on fire, like, God, what was it? It's gonna bug me now. Whatever. But now it's something stupid. Now it's like. It was like people on fire take like tons more damage or something, and then they just nerfed it and ruined it, and I was really bummed about the Firecrest getting nerfed. Anyway, that's my thing. I'm
done. So I guess and like Inter said, there's a ton of different talents for the high end gear. If you Google, I think it's Division gear talents. There's a handful of different websites that come up. I don't remember if you could actually probably get to the wiki from the divisionforums.com. You can go there and then find the talent list, but it shows you what talents are available on all 6 gear slots. So on chest, mask, knee pads, backpack, gloves, and holster, there's unique talents to each of those slots, and you can see which talents come on each slot, and then you can look at the list of what the talents are, so you can see what those different talents do. So you can get an idea of, I'm going to be a run and gunner, so I should probably pick up these couple talents, or I like to sit back and use cover, so I should probably pick up these kinds of talents. A lot of times those high-end pieces can be mixed in really well with gear set pieces to potentially cover holes in a gear set or holes in your play style. So like if you take something that's a more aggressive, you could take some defensive high-end pieces that could help you be a little bit more rounded. When looking for actual pieces of gear, you start off, there's a couple different tiers on gear score that have to do with the world tiers that start to open up with the game once you hit level 30, and the world tiers have to do with the difficulty of the game. There being 5 different world tiers, obviously 1 through 5. And the higher up the world tiers go, the higher level gear score you can get, with World Tier 5 giving you the max level gear, which is 256 gear score. Basically, the gear is all the same, so it has the same talents, or it has the same 2, 3, 4 piece bonuses. The only difference is the stats that roll on it, how high those bonuses are, how high the armor ratings are, things like that. So you can determine, hey, I want to play this gear set and get, your first level gear score items, and then you can kind of slowly work through the progression. Just something to be aware of is that as you go into those higher tiers, you're going to have to collect new gear, or find a way to upgrade your gear, buy new gear, build new gear. Personally, it is kind of a meta thing with gear, but I take on on my backpack, my chest piece, my knee pads, and my holster, I always make sure that I have health rolled onto those so that they add to my toughness score to give me a pretty decent toughness. I'm not always the best shot, so I prefer to be able to take a couple more rounds. I don't like to be real squishy. I like to be able to take some hits before going down, so I always make sure I have those on them. So that's something when I'm looking for gear pieces, is either the gear has that already rolled on it, or I have the correct talent or the other skills that I want on it, or it's the correct stat, so that I can roll and recalibrate the gear to put health on it. So that's a personal thing of mine. Again, that's something you kind of have to determine on your playstyle. If you're someone that is pretty good at using cover and avoiding taking shots and such, you could probably avoid taking some of the health, because there are some other talents and skills that you can roll on the gear. For instance, like on the holster, you can roll reload speed, which is nice if you want to keep pumping rounds down range. On some of the like the mask and the backpack, you can roll skill points on, which could be nice if you want to do a skill build where you can do have a ton of skill points to be able to have really high and really powerful skills, and whether it's healing or attack skills. Do you have any specific thoughts on what you do with gear, Ginter?
Well, one thing I'd recommend is, as soon as you get to 30, and as soon as you can move through the higher world tiers, do so, because you will remain stagnant if you do not.
Yep.
Your gear score will remain stagnant, so you want to continue to move up the world tiers as you can. That is pretty much my only advice about that. For gear, as soon as you turn 30, you're probably not going to be finding end game items yet. So what I would recommend doing is just finding damage gear, and you kind of want to focus on toughness too, so you can take some hits. Electronics, I've never really focused those. I've never really found them too useful. I mean, they're good for like if healing and stuff and doing damage with your tech, your shade tech, but honestly, personally, I've never really focused that stuff. I've always just kind of focused damage and toughness. I always have wanted to do that though, build a electronics build. But I would just, if I were you, I'd focus toughness and DPS, doing damage and taking damage. Probably mostly doing damage though. Because obviously you don't want to take hits. You want to be giving hits. If you're taking too many hits, you're doing something wrong. Use cover.
Right.
Use the shield. Do something, but quit taking hits. Basically, you're gonna take some hits, but try to avoid it. That's the point of cover. Play the game smart. Yeah.
My thought process is a little bit different than that. First of all, for anyone that is building straight for the actual DPS number on their character, the DPS number is a completely inaccurate number. There are a lot of odd modifiers that go into that can artificially inflate that number.
Let me rephrase my statement then. What I meant was focus
on firearms.
Yeah,
firearms, right, and that's
not DPS.
And that's kind of the clarification. I knew that's what you were talking about, and that's putting about a lot of
Because yeah,
firearms, that means you're going to do more damage.
DPS is
You're,
very inaccurate. You're right. The strange, very odd calculators in this game. That's one of my things about critical damage and critical chances. They don't factor that in. It's frustrating because I'm like, I'm not doing that much. I'm doing way more DPS than that. But
right.
yeah, excuse me. I misspoke. I meant focus firearms.
Right, and I knew that's what you're talking about. I just wanted to clarify that.
You should, absolutely, definitely need to be clarified because people are gonna. That's important. Absolutely.
And one of the big concerns with DPS is that even if the number was 100% accurate, the only way you're generating that DPS is if every single round you fire hits.
So if you're me, basically.
Right, yeah. I mean, if you're...
I don't miss, so...
If you're like me, who has potato aim, and, you hit maybe 50 to 75% of your shots because you're spraying stuff around, that DPS number is only going to be some fraction of that. And it is depending on what they figure into that. So if your modifiers if they did start figuring in crit hits and chances and headshots and things like that go into it, if you're not making those specific types of hits, so say your DPS is designed for headshots, well, if you're doing body shots, even if you're hitting everything, your number is going to be less than that DPS because you're not hitting headshots, which is what your DPS is designed on. So that's why I try to stay away from that. But like Ginter says, yes, if you want to do damage, put points into firearms. Typically, in my most recent handful of builds, I've been usually speccing 3 to 4 pieces into firearms, 1 into stamina, and then 1 to 2 into electronics. I've found that I like to have, at least once I hit 256 for gear score, I like to have 120 to 150 K for skill points, so that if I'm using a pulse, if I'm using a heal, I actually get some points out of that. I can actually use it. It allows you to take a damage dealing player or a damage dealing character and actually play them solo. If you're going to always be playing a character in a group, that there's going to be someone else that's going to be running some of those things, put all your points into, put all your skills into either firearms or stamina, where you can be a frontline damage dealer, and then someone else can be generating those skills for the heals and that kind of stuff. Or if you're going to be a tank, where you can just be out there face tanking people and someone else can be healing you. But I tend to make my builds because oftentimes I either play by myself or with one other person, and it's nice to have a little bit more balanced character when I'm playing. So that's just kind of been my personal thing. But again, that's going to be something you're going to have to decide. What's your play style? Are you an attack player? Are you a support player? Are you a tank? Are you a healer? And that's going to determine how you spec your build. Where are you going to put your points in? What are you going to put your rolls into? Is it going to be firearms, stamina, or electronics? And this kind of like with the 1 to 30, until you get to World Tier 5 and you're collecting 256 gear score items, don't spend a ton of money working on your gear. You might do more so than you did with the 1 to 30, but just remember that until you hit 256, the items that you're collecting are not going to be true end game. They're not going to be stuff that you can kind of compete with others in PvP, that you can really do like hard and challenge and legendary level missions. So you want to, like Ginter said, as soon as you can get to World Tier 5, that's where you want to get to. So an easy way to collect gear is to do hunt the world bosses, the light zone bosses. We have a link to, or we have a picture of the map. There's a map that one of the players put together that shows all the locations of these bosses. If you go to our site, again, thevisionforums.com, you can pull up that map. It shows you the grid coordinates for all of those bosses. Just go through them. They respawn every 4 hours. Go through the whole set. You typically get 3 to 6 pieces of gear off of them, and it's a combination of weapons, gear pieces, mods. Collect that stuff, use that to get your build up, to get you to the point where you can jump to the next world tier, rinse, repeat until you get to 256. So that's basically what you're trying to do, is kind of get an idea. you're testing out some of these gear set pieces, even though they might be a lower level, you're collecting a couple and saying, oh, okay, I like, a Sentry set, and I don't like a Nomad set, or I like the Reclaimer set, but I really am not a fan of the Striker set. You get an idea of what stuff you really want to collect, so then once you hit 256, you basically can hit the ground running. I'm looking for these pieces, this is what I want, these are where I'm going. Same kind of thing with weapons. There's some new weapons that, not new, but there's some weapons that are more effective when you hit level 30 that you might not necessarily use in the 1 to 30 grind. Start testing those out, kind of get a feel for what the higher end level weapons are like, because they're a lot more accurate, they do a lot more damage, they're a different feel than the lower levels. Something that you might have liked on low level could be complete trash on once you hit level 30. Like my example, I like the P416 when I'm running the 1 to 30. When I hit 30, I won't use it. It's just not, there's so many other assault rifles out there that I like more. So just kind of get a feel, test everything out, try the different gear pieces, see what you like. That way, as you roll through and hit the World Tier 5, you know exactly what you're looking for. Do you have any other thoughts on that, Ginter?
No, I have to say I pretty much said my piece. Get to keep going up on World Tiers, and you're could be good.
So kind of in a recap there, like we said, you want to get to World Tier 5 as fast as possible once you hit level 30. Pretty much running 1 to 30, just test out a little bit of everything. Don't spend too much time buying or building or collecting gear, or I should not say collecting, recalibrating gear. Just run with what you get used to what the different sets are, so that you can get to 30. Then once you get to 30, get to that World Tier 5. Start getting the gear that you can really start using in all the final game content. So that's going to be our incursion for this week. As I said, next week we'll go into talking about specifically what to look for on gear set pieces and what to look for on weapons. And then on the following session, we'll go over different types of builds. So how to build, or what we like as an assault build, what we like as a support, so that you can get an idea of where to go once you get to that World Tier 5. So with that, we're going to move into our division forum. So we are still looking for, I had a great comment posted up where you want to see Ginter broadcast from in the boo or anywhere in the game, and we didn't get any responses, unfortunately. So he's broadcasting from his house. So if you guys do want him to broadcast from someplace, either tweet at us at Shade Tech Radio or send us an email, shadetechradio@thedivisionforums.com. Just say, hey, I'd like to see him here. Maybe you'll see him in your suggestion. Who knows? In addition to that, we're still trying to come up with a unique show segment, something that you, the community, you, the listeners, are interested in seeing. I don't know if you'd like to see like an agent highlight, if you'd like to see agent artwork, funny screenshots, videos, things like that. If you've got any ideas, again, tweet those to at Shade Tech Radio, or email them to us at shadetechradio@thedivisionforums.com, so we can get some ideas of what you guys would like to see. Other than that, we are really enjoying the feedback that we're getting. We're getting feedback from both the podcast and from the videos that we're posting on YouTube. So if you guys do have thoughts, please post those. Please send those to us so we can know, are we just talking to ourselves, or are you guys enjoying what we're doing? Is the stuff that we're doing useful, helpful? If not, tell us what we need to do to change.
Absolutely.
So
why don't you give me your contact info?
Yeah, so that's going to basically wrap it up. You can reach me at deadsockpuppet_ on Twitter, otherwise on the Division forums. If you go to my Twitter profile, there's a link to my Twitch, to my YouTube, and my personal email. So Ginter, how can we reach you?
You can reach me at Twitter at G1NT3R and at the Division forums.
So lastly, our cast is sponsored by the Division Forums, a fan site for all things Division. Check it out at thedivisionforums.com or at Division Forums on Twitter. You can reach the show on Twitter at Shade Tech Radio or via email at shadetechradio@thedivisionforums.com. stop by our website, shadetechradio.com. There's links to the podcast. You can get to it on iTunes, SoundCloud, as in addition to the video. Please, please, please rate, like, sub, follow, share, so that others can get in on the goodness that we bring you. Please give us comments and reviews. If they're good, bad, ugly, whatnot, we just want to know, again, what we're doing, what we can improve. And if you give us likes and reviews on iTunes and SoundCloud, moves up the cast in the list, gives us a better visibility, more people get in, more people to share with.
And hey, if you guys want to, stop by, let us know. We'd love to have visitors, I'd love to talk to people.
Exactly. If there's a topic that you think, hey, I have a lot of input on this, it's something that others would be interested in, contact us. Hit us up on Twitter, send us an email. We'll try to, if we get emails in, try to read those on the air, just so that, you guys can see what other listeners are passing along as input. But yeah, if there's something that you're interested in, something that you could give feedback on, let us know. We'll try to set it up, get a chance to get you on here. We get you a chance to talk your piece, and then kind of talk out what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
So finally, I want to thank everybody again for listening. This has been Shade Tech Radio, reminding you to keep an eye on your Shade Tech agents, and we'll see you in the fight to take back New York.
Everybody, watch your six, and everywhere else around you, especially up in the air, because you don't know what's above you. Or if you're in the water, watch what's below you. I have terrible hydrophobia, so I don't like deep water. That's
sage words.
That's just exactly. Thank you. Anyway, goodbye, everybody. We'll see what song comes on. I like the safety dance, so we'll see.